Hello and welcome to the 15th annual LD Micro main event. We are here at the Lux in Los Angeles, California. I'm joined by Gary Campbell, CEO of Cytta Corp, ticker symbol CYCA on the OTC markets. Gary, thank you so much for being here today, for sharing your story, and we'd love to hear a little bit more about the company if you can tell our audience.
Sure, thank you for having me. And well, I'll start with Cytta is basically a company, and a lot of people ask us, well, how do you kind of get where you got to working with technology, et cetera? So I like to say we're a vision-directed company, which really means I let the technical geniuses behind the company kind of have their way, and they develop various technologies and pieces and things that have led us into some fantastic directions. So doing things that way rather than formally laying it out, laying development schedules, has allowed their genius to come through, and consequently we have two primary technologies. We have Super, which is a compression algorithm that's probably the most effective compression algorithm in the world. And then we have the IGAN, which is an incident command system. Basically, it takes all the video feeds originally built to ingest our super compressed videos, which are proprietary, and transcode them over to other systems. Well, the IGAN also deals with all other videos, all other video sources, and became our primary product in its own right, which we distribute right now to first responders, but the marketplace for that is really starting to expand.
Well, and what are the industries that are leveraging this technology?
Well, interestingly, the super compression, we deployed that into the U.S. military and the British military over the past few years, and there's a whole development cycle that goes with it. So in its original format that we had it, we were able to work with proprietary military computers, mil-spec computers, download the software into those devices. Then they would put these very tiny computers on drones and drone with a 4K camera. The 4K imagery would go through our compression algorithm, and we would make it small enough so they could wirelessly transmit it to the ground, or in their cases, shoot it up to a very small low Earth orbit satellite through 22 kilobits up, things like that, where
Wow.
everybody else is talking about 5 megabits.
That's
So
incredible.
suddenly we could do through 2 foot by 2 foot drones what only the Predators and Raptors were doing with the big satellite dishes. So it added a lot of excitement, and it was really an interesting direction. But from there, we knew we had to build some boards, FPGAs, so that we could install it in a lot of non-military situations. And ultimately, we were dreaming about building an ASIC chip from it. And then fortunately, in the last few months, a spin-out group was created called Reticulate Micro that basically came to us. They contracted with us for our super software, and they're moving full speed ahead with building the FPGAs and ultimately the ASIC chip. So that's a separate company. Cytta obviously will have an interest. Cytta shareholders will benefit through the spin out. And ultimately that'll be listed up on NASDAQ. And that's allowed us to push the development of the ASIC chip literally 3 years ahead. So we're very excited about that development.
Wow. And now switching gears a little bit, tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you get involved with the company, your background?
Yeah, well, originally I'm a securities lawyer from Vancouver, back in the day when there was a Vancouver Stock Exchange. So I'm dating myself, most people these days. That's just this horrible rumor about it. It goes Sodom and Gomorrah, and then the Vancouver Stock Exchange is kind of next in terms of evil places.
Oh, wow.
So I started there. I'd worked for the Securities Commission in Canada while I was in law school. I was their lawyer more or less accidentally, which is kind of the Canadian way before I was a lawyer. Ended up with a very, very successful securities law firm in Vancouver. Started out mining and oil and gas, and then created the industrial board on the Vancouver Stock Exchange because I like technology deals. So we created that. I think one of the earliest products we did was um, electronic credit card readers for International Verifact, which kind of changed the world. And Vancouver was sold on the idea, wow, if that's the first technology you bring in and it's changing the world, let's do more of these. So from there, I retired early and fairly well at that point, and have been financing various technologies that really can change the world, paradigm shifting stuff. I try to stay away from, strictly, financial based technologies and things.
So is that sort of the passion that drives the engine, wanting to change the world?
Yeah, well, one of my previous wives said to me, she said, what are you going to tell these kids that you do other than do deals to make money? And that was quite a while ago. And
Eye opener, right?
Yeah. And so that's kind of when I started looking for things that could really change things. And that's a hard road to hoe, but in Cytta, we've been with it since 2009, and we had a previous medical technology, was really, really good. The marketplace wouldn't take it with Obamacare. Fortunately, we have the compression technology. So people tend, if they know you're looking for those type of things, you find them here and there. Generally, you get the harder you work, you get lucky every 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Great story. I mean, the last two and a half years have kind of been a rocky road with COVID, with the current market weaknesses. How have you been navigating all those different obstacles?
Well, it really worked incredibly well for us. I mean, it's like everybody, we're all lonely, locked in our places, we're locked down, but we're video streaming people. So all of our products were being used effectively. So our IGAN system, which we use, in all instances for the police officers doing it, we've been using it ourselves, and it creates a much more interactive platform for us. So literally what we found was prior to COVID, there was some question about the effects or the efficacy of a video meeting, etc. Nobody questions that anymore. And nobody among our clients questions using the video streaming to make their decisions.
Wow. And I understand there might be some new products on the horizon you'd like to share with us.
Well, we've just literally introduced, we started with the IGAN 1.0, which was strictly a matter of moving videos and audio from multiple sources to multiple other people that could consume it. And it required a large box, some hardware, a lot of various pieces built into it. And we looked at that and we said, effectively, if we spend a lot of time, we look at how this works, we think we can build a set of software that does exactly the same thing. A completely software-based IGAN. So for the past, I guess it's 11 months now, we've had our development team heads down on writing the code for the software-based IGAN. But we wanted to move it more from just the videos to people consuming it. We wanted to create a dashboard. We wanted to create social interaction among all the parties, and we had some of that. So literally with the IGAN 2.0, the capabilities are incredibly extensive. You can create different channels, different groups within it. You can have hundreds of people on at the same line. It does everything that Zoom does as a product, completely securely, with all kinds of things that Zoom doesn't have. So we're doing a little bit of modeling beyond the first responder side now, and to create a Zoom or a Teams or a Google Meets alternative, we downgrade some of our capabilities, and we'll be starting to talk about introducing that from a social point of view, from a video streaming point of view. Anybody, anywhere, they're on camera, on their laptop, you have, using the IGAN's video streaming capability, control you get to actually see every person that's watching you.
Wow.
You send them an invite, they're there, you can see their icon. If they want to be live video, you see those as well. If they want to hold their hand up and talk, you have choices. They can text you messages that'll show on screen. Or the coolest part ever, you can click on them and they will appear right next to you live, ask you their question.
Oh, wow.
So we're excited about that. That's
bringing the world together faster.
we think that's really cool. So everybody says, when are you going to launch that? And we're just conceptualizing it now and taking those pieces slowly. But we have another one that we launched, which is the school SOS element, which means basically the sheriffs asked us, how can we protect their schools? So once again, the technology team came up with, they said, well, a QR code that links into our platform that appears live into the sheriff's office where the person is monitored. So it's an SOS alert system. Just by scanning the QR code or touching it on their phone, that connects them into the sheriff. That allows the sheriff to immediately communicate with them, but also to be able to see and hear through their phones.
Wow.
Anybody who's using that in any school setting, teachers and whatever. So suddenly we've got eyes and ears in a school in an emergency situation.
That's fantastic.
And we're getting an awful lot of traction on that element. And basically we're being asked by whole counties, okay, well, if you get into schools, what else do you have? And we said, well, your sheriff or your police department has to have an IGAN. They said, okay, that's it. They're going to get that. So that one we're feeling really good about because, that's an area where that kind of safety and security is so important. And literally it's instantaneous communication.
Wow.
Right now, their only alternative is to use 911. We've seen how poorly that performs.
Yeah.
And you can identify exactly where all the students are. You
wow.
can see them on a map, the location feature.
Wow.
So, and then that one, we've been getting a lot of police officer families saying we want to have kind of the mini IGAN in our home and doing all this stuff with our children and this. So there's probably a consumer side down the road.
Yeah, I think so. And unfortunately for us in the States, it's something that we need. But fortunately, there's someone at the helm directing these necessities that we need to make the world a safer place.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And I heard a rumor that there might be some corporate structure, changes in the corporate structure. Is there anything you can share about that?
Well, the big one is the spin out with reticulate micro. So, while not a change in Cytta's corporate structure, there will be a dividend back to all the Cytta shareholders at a particular date, in addition to royalties, the payments, et cetera, et cetera. So, this, I can't really quantify at this stage. It's preliminary. They haven't made their formal announcements yet, but rumor has it that they've received all their funding commitments to do what they're going to do. So the next stage from that side of the house will be announcing exactly what it's going to look like from the Cytta side and then picking a record date for the Cytta shareholders. So that'll be a very interesting dividend.
Yeah, I agree. We look forward to following up.
It's listing on NASDAQ, so it's going straight up to NASDAQ.
We look forward to following that story. And given the current market crisis, what are some of the strategies being executed to stay afloat, overcome those?
Well, the best one for us was going with the software as a service model, going all software, because we were starting to have difficulties getting capture cards. We were trying to get those from England. There's certain elements of the original IGAN we were building. We were getting parts from all over the world. So literally before COVID, we made the decision that we could go to the software. And then once all the supply chain problems started kicking in, we were just really grateful.
Thank goodness.
That we were moving along that path. So literally, right now, as I say, the world problems with the supply chain and things, we've moved around that and we're able to deploy our software anywhere in the world without any problems.
That's an amazing story. And last question, financial question. How would you summarize the company's bottom line?
Company's bottom line is it's going to be, in my opinion, astonishing moving forward. So we've just literally started marketing the IGAN 2.0. We've always been doing, you can call them beta clients or reference clients. Dallas, for instance, works with our technology, and we develop elements based on all the work they do with that. So literally 3 weeks ago, we announced that the IGAN 2.0 was available. It's like one of those movies. We got 5 major groups that wanted it the same day, and we went, okay, we're going to take this slowly now, like one of them being, Dallas Fort Worth Airport with all of their security systems. So we're doing those implementations. We have the whole county of Orange County, Ocean County in New Jersey. So we've got some huge clients to put this in with, and then from there we'll go software as a service.
Wow. Sounds like you've accomplished a lot and you still have a lot to do. Gary, thank you so much for coming by the Sequire booth and sharing your story with us, for coming to LD Micro. We really appreciate you. Anything else you'd like to close out to investors?
Yes, I've been to this is the second LD Micro show that I've been to, and it's a great group of people here, and it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy the presentation. So, the interaction here is just first none.
I totally agree. And where can investors go to find out more about Cytta Corp?
Cytta.com is our website. That's the easiest spot to go. And it's just CYCA.com. That's a good starting point. They can do info at Cytta from the site. Send us some questions, etc. That's the easiest way to.
Great. Cytta Corp, Gary Campbell, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Pleasure.